All right, guys. Again, gonna do a weekly kind of summary video just to kind of sum up the discussion boards again, just because that's quicker for me. So apparently I'm lazy when it comes to that. I don't know. Thought the discussion boards were very good again. I thought your summaries were a lot better just in general, and I like the questions. You guys had some really good questions this week. When you answer those questions, though, give me more, give me some details. So again, if the answer is simple, then explain it to me a bit more. Explain to me the why, not just the what, but the why behind it, okay? One thing that I like that you guys brought up was the training and how we can train these athletes, which I think is a great idea. However, I struggle a bit when you ask the coaches to do the training. Now, do I think they should? Do I think they should have that support behind it? Absolutely. But I will tell you, I've watched videos on like these great ACL training programs, and I'm watching a girl do a squat and she's got a crazy knee valgus at the end of the squat. So I just challenge that. Are they teasing out and being as picky as we need them to if we are going for this neuromuscular re-ed? Because if we're just letting them do a squat and they're having, the knee valgus, then we're just training the knee valgus. So that is something, again, I do think the coaches need to be on board. I think they can be involved in the training. But I think if you want them to take it in their hands, then we need to make sure that we're giving them that education so that way they do it and they do it properly. Otherwise, we're just wasting practice time for no reasons. That's another soapbox. I am not completely convinced on them yet because I've just seen so much conflicting research. I'm hopeful. But like my coworker and I were just talking today, are we doing a disservice to the athletes by doing an ACL reconstruction? Because this week we've heard of re-tears. Not all patients, luckily, but of patients who have re-torn. Again, that's another chapter, but yeah, going to the article now for the discussion board. So again, I thought a lot of it was very interesting. I'm on board with you guys. I like the idea of the basketball to just increase that that second jumping so they try and reach that goal. I hope you guys caught that in the beginning in the introduction, it says that a box height of 11 centimeters. 11 centimeters is 30 centimeters. 30 centimeters is 11.81 inches. So then we have a ground reaction force of 4 times the body weight. 11 inches isn't that high. Like even my girls who can jump 11 inches, that is just astronomical. And if you think about the lack of athletes' ability to absorb a landing, like I just can't imagine the amount of impact that is happening at the knees or the foot or the hips, the back, wherever they're not absorbing. And it talks about the joint stiffness increasing the ground reaction force. It also was interesting too that when they go after the ball, so they're not thinking about their landing, so their landing technique wasn't quite as good, not as drastically different as they had thought. But I also like the fact that they saw that when they educated the patients on the landing, that their landing technique was better, which I think is a huge driving point for us, in that if we can train them, if we can get that correct Ingram into them, then maybe we can help decrease some of these injuries, not just in ACLs necessarily, but any of the landing injuries that might occur. So that's a positive thing for us. Like if we can train them, if we can say, hey, watch this, then they can do it. But again, we have to have enough repetition that we get it more of an Ingram versus, because when they get distracted by the ball, then it goes back to a little bit faulty. Was interesting to me that the center of mass was different from the first jump to the second jump, but there again, maybe it's because they were reaching for that ball. But I do think that does go back to the stiffness, the decreased absorption, so then we're having that increased ground reaction force. What else are my notes saying here? Oh, and it also talks about the one thing that caught my eye too when it's talking about in the discussion is that the unstable body posture in flight that leads to an increased stiffness and greater landing perturbation than experienced on the first landing. And if you think about basketball players, if you think about how many times they just land awkwardly because somebody undercuts them or whatever. I thought that was a very good point, how that definitely is going to change the mechanics. But overall, I really liked this article this week. I thought it was pretty interesting. I thought it points out a lot of interesting points, but I think the two main takeaways that I want you to get is that if we educate on the jump chaining, we can definitely make a difference. And when we add in distractors, then the landing technique is not as good. So we need to, take those points, and that's what we need to use when we're educating our patients, but knowing that we can still make the change. But overall, yes, continue to be impressed with the discussion boards. Just watch your timelines on when those need to get posted. Don't forget that you have a test that is due. I think I left it open till Sunday. Don't quote me on that. I'd have to go back and look, and I don't have it up right now. But that, and then we're moving out of the basics and more into the fun stuff next week. So as always, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me or shoot me a text, whatever you need to do. Hope you have a great weekend. Thanks, guys.